Support for Audacious with Chion Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Chion Wolf. The fires that swept across Los Angeles earlier this year were not just wild in name, they were cruel, consuming, and utterly transformative. They were a visceral reminder of just how fragile everything is. Our homes, our sense of safety, even our memories. The aftermath of such destruction is, first and foremost, a time of immense loss and hardship. Yet, within that hardship, some find ways to reflect, rebuild, and at times rediscover what matters most. Today, you'll hear from a 10-year-old drummer who's blind and lost almost everything, including his Braille materials and 2 drum kits. But he found his rhythm again on some of the biggest stages in the country. And we'll also look into a viral moment that melted millions of hearts. A man named Casey Colvin reunited with his dog, Oreo, 5 days after the fire. And that story didn't just end with a reunion, it sparked legislation that could change how animals are rescued in future disasters. Then we revisit the 2012 Colorado wildfire that destroyed the home Leslie Wharton built from scratch with her husband. Her upcoming memoir explores not just what she lost, but the unexpected strength she found in the aftermath. But first, meet RoseMarie Wallace from Massachusetts. She's a director of diversity, equity, and belonging at Tabor Academy. And back in 2015, a house fire changed the course of her life.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's funny because I woke up this morning both anticipating this, but at the same time feeling just a little bit weepy,
Yeah? Tell me why.
Because I remember just how painful the subject is, but at the same time, I'm very joy-filled about where I am now versus where I was then, not only because of the fire, but just because of the choices it's led me to in my life. Gosh, as I get older, I think about choices. And I think every moment our life is filled with choices. And some we know the outcome to, others we don't. Usually 90% of them we don't. And I guess it just reminds me of how much we want control, but how little control we have.
Hear. How do you start the story?
So a short version is received a call one day from my neighbor. She said, "Hey, don't come home. Our street's blocked off. Somebody's house is on fire. Take your time. I don't think it's your house." She said, "They said that whomever's house it is has a pet or has pets." And I was like, okay, cool. And I said, "Michelle, I can't talk. I've got a call coming in from Danbury police or somebody." So I answered the call and they said, "Mrs. Wallace, just wanted to let you know your house is on fire." And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. My neighbor just told me it wasn't mine. I think the first reaction was one that I learned very much from my mother, which is don't get chaotic in situations like that. It's like, what do I do now? And so I came over and it was like, okay, next steps. Make sure that we have shelter for tonight. Make sure that we get good advice from good people. And so that's where it all started.
What was the cause of the fire?
So the house was relatively new. We had built it. And the guess was that it was faulty wiring or there was something that went wrong with the wiring in the living room. So a behind the walls kind of thing that we never would have known.
When you got to the house that day and you saw it, what was that like?
It was shock first that people were in my house, like, what are people doing in my house, and they just smashed the window. And how do I provide for my family? What do we do? But my mom volunteered so much that I was familiar with like Red Cross. And I was like, oh, when somebody's house burns down, this is when Red Cross would go and help the family. But I also felt very fortunate because we had insurance. We are very involved in the town, so we knew a lot of people. And next steps was, where are we going to sleep tonight? So my husband and I called the local hotel and we were just like, okay, we're moving in.
When I first invited you onto the show, you wrote me back and you said you were just talking to somebody in your office about how on the other side of adversity is opportunity. And both our ancestral and literal use of fire creates unique connections. Fire can be beautiful, and loss can grow promise and understanding. How did you come to that?
Grace. It's when you have to let go. And I think the greatest lesson I learned from the fire and from our ancestors is when to let go. So I often share with kids, I work in a school and, people will come into my office and I had written on the wall, if you had to leave this minute, what would you take with you? And it seems like a maudlin kind of thought, but here's the deal. At any given point, we can be asked to leave. And I think about ancestrally, at least my ancestors just being plucked from a land and then being sent somewhere else. And you have to really think hard and train yourself to understand that you take yourself and you have your resilience, and that at no point in your life do you have nothing. The sooner we teach our children how to let go of things and to rely more on that interconnectedness, those human qualities that help us understand each other, the rest of it's just stuff.
Was there anything that you lost that you still mourned?
I lost a part of me that was stubborn. I lost a part of me that was the me I wanted people to see versus the authentic me. And the authentic me was in a lot of pain. And I think the fire helped me deal with that. And it helped me understand that if we don't remember, then we weren't meant to remember. The Japanese art of kintsugi, is repairing things with gold. And I would walk into the house and there was a tarp. And in between the cracks of the tarp, the sun would shine in to the house. And for me, I was like, oh my God, that's my gold, that I have my life, that I have an opportunity to teach my children something that isn't anything they're going to be able to learn from college. But if I could be strong and show them that we can rebuild, repair, and reconnect, that was the authentic me.
What you're saying reminds me of one of my favorite Pema Chodron quotes. No, one of my favorite quotes of all time, which I found after my marriage came to a very shocking and sudden end. And the quote is, "Only to the extent that we expose ourselves over and over to annihilation can that which is indestructible be found in us."
Wow. I'm going to put that on my wall now. That's so true. I also think that the fire turned me into more of a giver than a protector. And I think about all the things that I saved or I hoarded. I started to give them away because they didn't mean to me what I thought they meant. In the wake of losing everything, I was like, what is really important to me? And hearing you give that quote, I think about Alberto Rios's, "We give because we were given to." I think when you're faced with given an opportunity to start all over again, it was the day before my 50th birthday. I mean, who gets to start their 50th birthday by rebuilding? And for me, that theme has rung true. Rebuilding relationships, rebuilding connections, an opportunity to rebuild.
It sounds to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds to me almost that this experience maybe also influenced your relationship with your own mortality.
Yes, it made me realize how afraid I was of not being able to prepare. It also made me think about that ancestral feeling. For the longest time, I felt like I was walking on people. I think it comes from when I was a child, reading Maya Angelou. My daughter is Gwendolyn Maya Wallace. And when they said, walked on the backs of our ancestors, I took that literally. That really was a big theme for me, is who am I walking on and what am I leaving? Like, what am I leaving? And if a fire can take down everything that you have and everything that you are, then what are you?
You got a lot of calls on the day of the fire, but one of those calls was unlike any other. Will you please tell me about that call?
Yeah. My NPR bucket list was to be on every single game show that NPR featured. And I actually got a call from Eleanor Kagan, who was like, you are selected to be on Ask Me Another with Ophira Eisenberg. And I was like, what? That's my bucket list. And I got to go because my house burned down. And she was like, okay, we'll reschedule this call. But, and so 2 weeks later, I got to go to the Bell House. And that means something to me because my children grew up on NPR and bucket list checked.
Now I guess we have to start an audacious game show, huh?
Yes.
You'll be the first one we call. Just hopefully it'll be a nice, placid day for you, other than the call. Is there anything else that you want to say about this experience that we haven't talked about? Totally open floor.
The choice to not let something ruin your life is a hard one to come by, but it only happens when you have been annihilated so many times. So, the fire was just one of many burns, I will say. And yet I really do feel like there is grace in everything we do. And the grace is in that choice. So I see fires and they don't scare me. I think there's an opportunity on the other side of it. You feel the heat, and we feel the heat in our jobs. We feel the heat in conversations. We're feeling the heat right now, metaphorically. Where's the opportunity in it? The choice is in looking for opportunities. I hope that's something that comes through loud and clear.
Well, RoseMarie Wallace, thank you so much for talking with me.
This has been incredible. This really will give me legs to walk through today and be even that much more grateful. Thank you.
When we get back, you'll hear about one of the most widely shared viral moments from the Los Angeles fires, Casey Colvin's emotional reunion with his Pomeranian pup, Oreo.
Oh, honey! Oh, honey! Oh, my God, you're alive! You're alive! Oh, honey!
Plus, a 10-year-old Altadena boy who's blind shares his experience from the January fires that destroyed his home.
If you don't have anything, and if you still have God, you have everything you need.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. In the middle of all the heartbreak during the Los Angeles fires in January 2025, there was one moment that caught the world's attention. It was a video of a man sobbing with relief as he reunited with a small, fluffy dog.
Oh, honey! Oh, honey! Oh, my God, you're alive! You're alive! Oh, honey! Oh, wow! Wow!
Take him back.
Oh, thank you, Jesus! Oh, thank you, God.
That was Casey Colvin reuniting with Oreo, a 14-pound Pomeranian who went missing during the LA fires and came home 5 days later. Oreo is one of Casey's 2 dogs. He also has a terrier named Tika Tika. This is what Casey experienced on January 7th as the fires spread across the city.
Oh God, it was like the worst day. The winds were blowing and I just got a creepy feeling. Like it just felt weird. You know what I mean? Like it felt spooky. I can't describe it. Like sinister. I don't know. Like it felt really, really bad out that day. Like bad. Like, you know, I don't want to be like one of those like energy guys, but like I had a terrible feeling that day. And here's the upshot. I had to go to a meeting 9 miles down the street, the same street that the house is on. And my phone rings and it's my CEO, right? I sell software for veterinarians and nightclubs and stuff. Hey, boss, are you okay? Yeah, why? She was like, because the house is on fire. I go, what do you mean? She says, the whole neighborhood's on fire. I go, I'm not there. I'm in the city. What is going on? Because I didn't get the evac. But my software, like I mentioned that I do my software in nightclubs and casinos. Like I work directly with the police and the fire departments. So I shouldn't say this. I mean, how fast can your car go, right? I mean, the neighborhood's on fire and you're trying to save your dogs. And I get to a police skirmish line at one of the nightclubs that I've worked at for years called Saddle Ranch, right? So I asked the deputy, I said, bro, my dogs are in the house and it's on fire in there. He goes, where's the house? I go, like 16,000 block. Dude goes, you can't go through there. I say to him, why not? Like, I have to go there. Like, I have no choice. And he said, everything from here to the ocean is on fire. And I was like, how do I get to the house? And he says, figure it out. So I drive to the ocean on side streets and then I see the fire. It looked like Armageddon. I was like, all you could do is record. It was like Godzilla was there. I swear to God. If you've seen that movie like Game of Thrones and like the dragon like blows fire and everything's on fire, you're like, no, those are homes. No, those are people. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get in there. You know what I mean?
Now, it was pretty clear that Casey wasn't going to be able to drive to his house and scoop up his dog, so he found a bike rental shop nearby. He snagged a bike and a bright yellow helmet and set off to find responders willing to find and rescue his dogs.
So I ride my bicycle with my bright yellow bike helmet through the smoke, and I swear to God, I was so panicked about my dogs. I rode my bicycle up the stairs of the police headquarters into the headquarters, bro. And I go riding my bike up into the command post and I go, who's in charge here? And this firefighter comes out. He was definitely the brass. He had like 4 stars on his lapel and the fireman mustache, you know. So I say to the fire guy, I say, my dogs are in the house. It's on fire. It's right there. I can see it. He says, I'm going to send one of my firefighters in. So the firefighter says, Brent goes in from CAL FIRE and he says, your house is all sealed up and we have security on the house. Like for real, like you can't break into the house. I tell him, I'm like, you have permission to break. And now I've got the love of my life on the phone with me because, you know, the dog mom. And, you know, we're like trying to talk the firefighter through how to get through the house. And firefighter finally finds a shovel, takes the shovel, breaks down the door. Now he's in the house. So on the phone with me, we say to him, Oreo's behavioral. He's going to bite you. And all of a sudden you hear the firefighter go, he bit me. And firefighter picks up Tika Tika. And like I had mentioned earlier, like Oreo thinks that Tika is his wife. When the firefighter and all the gear at the house on fire picked up his wife, Oreo freaked out and he ran out of the house into the fires. I hear the firefighter say, Oreo ran out of the house. I go, where did he run out of the house? You know what I mean? He ran into the backyard. And I'm like, get the dog. He's like, I can't. And this is why he couldn't. it was a blowtorch coming from the hills. He said the fire wasn't moving up anymore. When the smoke lays down and the smoke hits the deck, that's when he said, as a firefighter, he's trained to run. And that's why everybody evacuated. They knew this was going to happen. So Brent comes back in the fire vehicle with Tika and no Oreo.
How did that feel?
Well, I mean, I'll describe it, man, because it was like ice fell on my chest because he's the one that needs all the help. Oreo has health issues. Like he has like legitimate health issues. Like he needs medicine. So for Tika, if Tika was out there, I'd just be like, Tika, 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 Tika. And, you know, she would probably come out. Oreo, I know it's going to be a fight.
There were 5 days in between when you got Tika Tika back and you finally reunited with Oreo.
Yeah, 5 days. So because NBC, they put a camera on me in the Godzilla fire while I was trying to get to my house because Oreo was out there. I had to do something to get my dog, and what quicker way to get my dog than, you know, work with the press. So when they did lights, camera, action on me, my whole world was being destroyed. So that video, because of NBC, went viral. And when I say it went viral, like Oreo became Insta famous on a level I'd never seen. It was like the dog had been seen by like hundreds of millions of people like overnight. And so I was like, well, that's good. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to find your creature, that's good.
Now, Casey had posted over 200 lost dog flyers to police, firefighters, and fellow residents, and he had a bunch of dog trackers on the case. But he wouldn't stop there.
I was cutting up pieces of my underwear and pieces of my socks.
Oh.
So I only had like one pair of clothes. So I was literally like cutting the shirt I was wearing because anything that smelled like me, we had to leave little swatches of fabric as like a scent trail to and from the burnt out house. So when the Mandeville Canyon fire broke out, they were trying to contain it. And I went up to a firefighter because I was planning on sleeping overnight in front of the burnt out house waiting for Oreo. I figured Oreo, usually an animal will start getting restless at dawn. So if I was already there when the sun came out, I figured I would have a better chance of seeing Oreo. When I asked the firefighter, do you think we're safe up here for me to stay overnight? He was like, no, everyone's being told it's not safe up here. So the second I left the fire line and I could get a cell phone signal, I had a call from a firefighter saying, I can see your dog. He's eating one of the bowls of food where you were like cutting out your fabrics of your clothing. He's eating out of one of the bowls of food. We tried to catch him, but he ran. You know, Oreo is behavioral. Like he's not going to let anyone catch him. So I went ahead and got a call from a dog tracker. And her name was Jane Garrison. She's like, I can see Oreo. And then she says something super special. She says, I don't care if it takes all day. I'll wait here with your dog. And I had Tika in a bag over my shoulder. And I just kept encouraging her to pee as much as possible. Because between Tika and me, we got to mark our territory because Oreo is going to follow that. And that's exactly what he did. And so if you look at the video, the viral video, I say, it's Tika, Tika, Tika. It's Tika, Tika, Tika. Oreo, you're looking, baby. That's right. He's coming to me right now because that's your wife and he's in love with Tika, Tika. So it wasn't me that got Oreo under the gate. It was Tika. He slid under the fence just to get to Tika because he loves Tika. Like right now as I'm talking to you, he's just trying to get up on the bed for Tika. Here, buddy. Here you go.
When you see the footage of that moment when you were reunited with Oreo after, you know, it's been a little bit of time now, how does it feel to see that footage?
It's super weird. I didn't know my voice could go that high. That's one of those moments of pure joy where you can't make those sounds unless you experience it. And the whole like freaking out, you're alive. Like, I feel like it was like you're almost watching your son being born. That's how I described it. It's like you're watching your son being born. Like you can't believe this miracle is happening. But at the same time, you have to be cognizant of the people who aren't as fortunate. And if you're fortunate like me and you're experiencing grace, try to pay it forward and try to enact change. We're trying to get the Found Act passed because in California, if we can get our act passed for animal rescue and disasters, Friends of Oreo, then we can help Connecticut. We can help people in Arkansas, Missouri, the Carolinas, Texas. Nobody's safe. So if you think there might be a disaster and if you think animals and your pets might be at risk, you might be separated from them, look up the Found Act in California and send your support and We love all of you fur parents out there because it's not an easy job and it's not a cheap job, and it's a lifelong job. If you're truly dedicated to your animal, you'll do anything for them.
Well, Casey Colvin and Oreo and Tika Tika, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
You heard Casey mention the FOUND Act. That's the acronym for Friends of Oreo, Uniting During Disasters. It's a proposed bill that would ensure better emergency protocols for pets, like improved rescue coordination, better communication for pet owners, and support for shelters during evacuations. The bill is currently working its way through California legislature. Now, the fire didn't just destroy structures. For some, it took away the spaces that made life navigable, especially if you're blind. Grayson Roberts is a 10-year-old Altadena resident who's been blind since birth. The fires took his house, including his Braille materials and his beloved drum sets. But they didn't take his spirit, or his confidence. He was joined by his mom, Terica, who described what it was like coming back to the ruins of their home.
Devastating. We drove back, and as we were driving, we were literally driving through flames. Like, the city was still on fire. And so it was, I would say, heartbreaking.
I have two things to say.
Yes, sir.
Number one, it's crazy how everything on that street was gone in like 35 minutes, probably. Number two, it's kind of incomprehensible how that fire went from that tower all the way down to our mountain so quick.
Grayson, when you realized that the house was gone, I know you knew you were going to be losing some items that meant a lot to you, but what were some items that you lost in the fire, Grayson, that kind of break your heart?
My airplanes, all of my Legos, all of my Braille things, my 2 drum sets, 7 or 8 other instruments too.
How long have you been playing the drums?
Maybe 3 or 4 years.
What got you into the drums?
I kind of just like being loud.
Oh, when you are drumming, how does it feel? Like, not just in your body, but like all of you?
Like relaxed. It's kind of like my way of meditating.
So, in your home, you were used to where things were. You had a sense for where things were. You could smell them. You could hear them. You could touch them. Everything was so familiar to you. And now you're in an Airbnb. You're still learning this place. How has it felt for you to be sort of out of place and things aren't familiar anymore? How have you dealt with that?
Kind of annoying sometimes. Like, I forget where I put things around here.
Sometimes he'll fall on different steps that he forgets are there, not being used to where steps are, or things like that.
The Braille materials that Grayson lost are super expensive and not that easy to find. But after some social media posts about Grayson went viral, people began to send him all new replacements. And then Grayson and Terica were invited to the Jennifer Hudson show, and she surprised them with tickets to the Grammy Awards.
The nominees like Billie Eilish, Sabrina Carpenter, and Teddy Swims will be performing, and you're going to be there, Grayson. Yes, you are. You're going to the 2025 Grammy Awards.
So what was it like going to the Grammys?
That was pretty cool. It was exciting. Nice to kind of get out and have some family fun.
And It honestly just felt like a normal concert, but with a lot more singers.
Did people spot you and start talking to you?
Oh, yeah. A lot of people.
There was someone that said, when me and my oldest brother were walking down the aisle to our seats, I heard someone say, "That's Grayson." Oh, there was this one influencer that made me want to decorate my cane.
Oh, yeah? How so?
It was decorated. It was blinged out.
I saw a video of you at the Restore and Rebuild LA fundraiser that the Black Music Action Coalition put together, and you were drumming your heart out. What was that like? Will you tell me everything?
So that was a pre-Grammy party, and BMAC, Black Music Action Coalition, they do this every year where they recognize different like indie artists, aspiring artists coming into the industry, and they want to help support them and kind of give them a platform from that, and also raise funds to support the community.
I'm friends with all of them now.
How did it feel, Grayson, to be playing in front of all those people in that room?
It felt really cool.
You know, one thing about Grayson is he never gets nervous. He never gets nervous. And I think a part of that is because he's blind. So he really doesn't know like the depth of, he can hear it, right? Who's in the room. But I think that kind of helps to soothe that fear, that anxiety. And once he gets up there, he just jumps right in.
Do you still feel like it's a meditation even when you're playing in front of people?
Yeah, of course.
Is there anything after the fire you wish people had done differently or said differently? Because people don't know how to talk about this stuff. I don't know. Anything come to mind?
Yeah, a lot of people say wonky things. A lot of people don't understand. And I don't blame them for that. This isn't something normal. This isn't your everyday experience. Of course, we could say, oh, I wish I would have took this or took that. But I'm also a firm believer that we're on a specific journey, a specific path for a reason. And it's our job, my job, to ensure that we take all the lessons that we're given along this journey and apply them moving forward. So I think that that's one of the biggest lessons, is just showing how it's really not about stuff, but us being together, us being safe. Mm-hmm. And everything is literally replaceable. And it's kind of humbled us in a sense of that, and being less worried about things and more worried about each other. So I don't think I would change anything.
No, me neither.
What is something that somebody did or said to you since the fire that really stood out to you?
Travis Barker gave us like
a new drum kit. Well, we have the certificate to order a new drum kit once we find stable housing. And he just actually reached out a couple weeks ago, and he's sending him a guitar.
Who, Travis Barker?
Uh-huh.
By the way, for those who don't know, Travis Barker is the drummer for Blink-182. Just an extraordinary talent.
Just the sweetest, most humble, like, soul. He sat with Grayson for almost an hour, and Grayson just picked his brain on drumming and, what do you think I should do with this? And what do you suggest? And he just gave him all his tips and all his recommendations, and just a nice guy. And this is the second time we've been able to interact with him.
What's crazy is I think I remember a long time ago when the first meeting went.
And they played together? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And at first he was in a car, right?
Uh-huh. And he got out. He came to Grayson's lemonade stand.
That's right. Oh, my God.
What's up, Grayson? How are you? Nice to meet you. You too. I brought you some drumsticks. I saw a video of you playing drums and singing.
Same kid.
Yo, that's crazy.
Travis came, and he was just surprised us. And Grayson said, hey, you think we could perform together? And he's like, yeah, okay. You got a drum kit? He's like, right there. So he said, what do you want to perform? He's like, well, I was going to perform Street Fight by Adam Jensen. Do you know that song? He's like, no, I don't know that song. And then he goes, well, I'll play a little bit and maybe you can catch along. Travis said, okay, I'll try.
Grayson, where does your confidence come from?
I don't know.
Terica, can you guess where his confidence comes from?
I can't. He gives me confidence. I learned from him. He really just moves to his own beat.
Have you had the chance to play drums like on your own, or are you still waiting for stable housing in order to get a kit so you can get back into drumming?
Oh, I have one right now.
Who gave you that?
Panda gave me this kid I have now.
Do you know who that is?
No.
The brother of Bruno Mars.
Oh.
His drummer and brother.
Cool.
Eric Hernandez.
In some ways, it feels like this is easy for you to talk about. And I can also tell that some of this is really hard. What made you say yes to this interview?
I don't know why. I just like doing these.
So I think it's important just to share our story, our experience, and to keep talking about it so that you bring awareness, and not forget that, there's still 10,000 people that are displaced and 10,000 people who, some of us are still in temporary housing. Some of us haven't found it yet. And so just keeping the conversation going, bringing the awareness, and even a part of Grayson's platform, what we do is we like to bring awareness to advocacy in the world and letting everybody know about his condition and that he's normal and he deals with some of the same things as all of us.
Well, I've asked everything I planned on. You've been so generous with your time. Is there anything that you wish I had asked that I didn't ask and you're kind of disappointed? Or, I don't know, open floor.
One of the things you asked was what was some of the surprising things that people may have said. And I think one of the things that stood out are those, number one, people who offered a place to stay. People literally are willing to open their doors when they have nothing. I think it says a lot. And then also those people who have said, we're not going anywhere. We're here for the long haul. So maybe, there is some still good in the world.
Grayson, anything you would add to that?
Probably how there's so many more Christian videos on my For You page.
Why do you think that is?
Probably because God blessed me.
What would you say to somebody who would be like, what? How can you feel like God blessed you if you had a fire? How would you respond to that?
Because if you don't have anything and if you still have God, you have everything you need.
Amen.
Well, Grayson and Terica Roberts, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the midst of receiving so much love as his family rebuilds, Grayson has shown the same kind of generosity he's been offering for years. Before the fires, he raised $2,500 and traveled all the way to Ghana to personally deliver 163 canes to the Ghana Blind Union's White Cane Project. Grayson, you are a true force for good, in more ways than one. After the break, 13 years after losing everything in a Colorado wildfire, Leslie Wharton shares advice for those who are just beginning to pick up the pieces and a few hard-earned perspectives.
Now, most things feel pretty small. Car breaks down. Oh, no big deal. I lost a whole house.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned. This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Leslie Wharton and her husband built their dream home from the ground up in Larimer County, Colorado. Then, in June 2012, a lightning strike during a punishing drought sparked the High Park Fire. It tore through the region, claiming one life and destroying 259 homes. Leslie's was one of them. In the aftermath, she moved to Washington State and turned her grief into purpose. Her book, Phoenix Rising, Stories of Remarkable Women Walking Through Fire, is a collection of essays from 20 women whose lives were forever changed by Colorado wildfires. I asked Leslie to take me back to that place before the flames, to describe the home she lost.
Oh, the house was an octagon house, and we had solar electric, so we were off the grid. We had beautiful panoramic views of the canyons in the forest. It was sort of like a child to me, something that I gave birth to. And I know for my husband as well, his sort of legacy as an artist and a carpenter.
How much of a heads up did you have? How much time did you have to pack up stuff? And what were some of the things that you took?
We were both at work, but we saw the smoke in the foothills and we were able to go home. We had 3 vehicles, so we packed up one vehicle, drove it to town, and came back for another vehicle. So we saved our cats. We had had previous fires, so we had jewelry and papers and journals packed up ready to go. So we grabbed those. I grabbed my wedding dress, which was my mother's. My husband gathered tools because he's a carpenter and he thought he's going to have to work. Oh, our skis and our backpacks, our tents. so we could live in the woods if we had to. So we were lucky to gather quite a few items compared to like the LA fires where they didn't even grab their wallet.
Because it's been 13 years since this all happened, you've had so much time to process the experience of it all. And I wonder, what do you know now about recovery after a fire that you didn't know back then?
I think when you go through a natural disaster like that, it's really trauma. And I think there's more understanding of trauma now. There's chemicals in your body that react so that you will survive future incidences. And all the things that you make sense of in your head, you might not be able to make sense of in your body. So advice for people that I would give is to find any time when you can relax and feel calm. It can be yoga. It can be walking by the water to balance the fire. But it also can be a conversation with a friend. Anytime you can get to relax, because when you first lose your home, you're concentrating on finding clothes, finding a place to live, and you're just going through those motions and everyone is helping you. And then 6 months down the road, everyone's not helping you, and you're in this place that wasn't your home with belongings that you didn't really choose because you had to grab anything to wear. And that's when I think it's partly the hardest part, is a little bit after the fire when things settle down and the shock is gone. So to be really careful with yourself, to ask for help when you need it, and to be gentle with yourself. You know, I had graduated from college with honors and been married forever and built my own house. And I always thought I could handle anything. And I really couldn't handle the fire for a little while. It was very, very hard. So if you can be aware of that you're going through a natural process and you'll be okay eventually. The other thing is you get an understanding that life is fleeting. And if there's something that you've wanted to do in your life that you haven't done, you're drawn to do that. For me, it was my writing, and I've published books, won poetry awards. I've written a memoir waiting to be published. So I'm really living a life I've always wanted to live that I didn't take the time to do before. It also gives you a strength, like a superpower. If you look at people who have been through a school gun shooting and then they become a senator because they're drawn to change the world, to use that trauma to say, I'm going to make a difference. And it also gives you more compassion for people who are suffering, anyone who suffers. You become a more compassionate, kinder person.
When you got our interview request to talk about this, I wonder what went on in you, because I imagine part of you was like, oh, absolutely. Your memoir is called Home Fires Burning. This is something you went through that was life-changing in many, many ways, and you're not going to write it off like it didn't happen. But I also imagine at the same time, maybe you feel like, ugh, I just don't want to think about this anymore or talk about this anymore. Where do you lie in all that?
Well, that's interesting, because the reason my memoir took so many years to complete is the beginning of it. You want to talk about it. You want to share with people who went through the same thing. You want to go to a meeting. You want to talk about it. And then you get to a point where you're healing and you don't want to talk about it. So I wrote this memoir, and then I couldn't edit it because it was too traumatic. All the hormones and the stress would come right back, and I knew it wasn't healthy. And now, so many years later, I feel completely healed, and it's easier for me to talk about it. So I was excited to talk to you about it, because I've given that memoir to 2 people who were in LA to read, even though it's not published, and it was very helpful for them. So now I want my story to be used to help others, and I'm strong enough to not have it make me feel jittery and traumatized, hypersensitive, sad. Now it makes me feel like I'm helping others.
I wonder if, having gone through all of this, maybe makes you feel more equipped so that when the next difficult thing happens, the next thing you never saw happening in a million years happens. Do you think now you'll know how to use your tools better?
Yes. And also, now most things feel pretty small. Car breaks down. Oh, no big deal.
You shatter your favorite coffee mug.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. I lost a whole house.
When Leslie published her book featuring women who lost their homes to wildfire, she noticed patterns in their experiences.
We all find our ways to find a silver lining with what we've went through. We all find ways to find a higher power or belief. We all have different ways of making it okay. One thing that I would recommend for people who have been through recent fires or traumas is to find your sisters. Like the people in my book are my fire sisters. And whenever I need to, I can call them and they understand what I've been through. Like I can say the things I might not say to someone else. During the recent LA fires, I kind of went through trauma again because my niece with her baby evacuated from her apartment. I went through that can't think and hyperactive and disorganized and sadness. And I called my fire sisters and they always understand how I feel. So find those people who maybe went through the same experience as you did and keep communicating with them through the years.
How's your niece now and her child?
She's great. She's good.
Good to hear that. Well, I've asked everything I planned on. Is there anything else that you want to make sure you mention before we go?
One of the things that I think is important for recent fire victims to know is that everyone goes through the experience differently. And that's one of the hardest parts. If you have a family member who is angry at the firefighters and you are enamored with the firefighters, or you are experiencing depression and they're enraged, and all your life you've been healing each other, but all of a sudden you're both so broken you can't heal each other. So I've seen a few people that have been through divorces because of what they've gone through. And I really want to advise people to be gentle with each other and to wait things out and to try to be as understanding with each other as they can be. Because everyone will have a different experience of the trauma that they've been through.
Well, Leslie Wharton, thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you.
The American Red Cross website includes all kinds of tips and links to resources you might need in the immediate aftermath of a fire. We'll have a link to it at ctpublic.org/audacious. This show is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, and Robin Doyon-Aitken at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. You can hear another powerful episode about the force of fire, this time through the story of Robert Chelsea. After a devastating highway crash left his car engulfed in flames, Robert survived, but with life-altering injuries. He went on to become the first African-American person to receive a full face transplant. He shares a journey marked by unimaginable pain and extraordinary forgiveness at ctpublic.org/audacious or wherever you get your podcasts. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Chion Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Peace.